Yeah, it's zoomed in real far, and apparently that's just the normal on my camera. Anyway, guys, it's like a month into this stupid quarantine from the COVID-19 virus. You know, not going anywhere. Haven't really driven the cars anywhere. We have this stupid rule where Thursdays you can't park on this side of the road, and Fridays you can't park over there. So it's time to do the shuffle. And since the cars haven't been driven at all, really, figure I'd take them around the block and you know, get the rust off the brakes, stuff like that. This thing is still living somehow. Sorry about the camera being super zoomed in, but that's what my phone wants to do right now. It's all the way zoomed out on that. But let's fire up the first pile of crap and see how this goes. Or not. Should start right up, although it hasn't been driven in forever. God, I love the fact that the Prius's doors don't try to eat me on getting in it, because the door stops are all worn out. It doesn't hold them anymore. Alright, sun is just screwing with the camera right now. That's awesome. Put down the sun visors to see if that helps. Not really. Alright, start number one. Cranked super slow, but it fired right up. 2 days ago, it was 70 degrees. Today, it's frickin' snowing. Only in Michigan. Oh, and you also notice how quiet the car is now. Even after rolling down the windows, it's got a whole new exhaust system under this pile of crap, which was $470. I think the car is worth that much. So that's awesome. We're gonna let this warm up for a minute, and then we'll take it for a rip around the block, park it where it needs to go, and then move the Prius. As far as updates and videos on the channel, haven't really been doing much. Kind of taking a little bit of a break, I guess. I have some new PC parts coming, so the setup's not set up. Hopefully everything will be here Friday or somewhere in between. Probably not, but that's what I'm hoping for. When that happens, should be a decent upgrade, and then I can do some more stuff. But there's bird crap all over this thing. The Prius is twice as bad. The birds hate that car. Literally, when it was parked on the other side of the street underneath the other tree back there, I hadn't moved it in a couple weeks. I've been forgetting to, you know, do the whole one side of the road, other side of the road for Thursday and Friday. I freaking hate that rule, and the only reason it exists is for the street sweepers to come by, and they don't even come by all that often. So yeah, it was a mountain of bird crap, and I can't wait to get back to work. I've been at home for a month. I filled up the Prius at the beginning of the pandemic. We stopped working. I officially got quarantined March 13th. I think it was like that Friday. I haven't driven around or really done anything since then. I filled up, and according to my odometer, since filling up, I've driven 7 miles, which is literally just around the block. You know, keep the battery charged, keep the car moving. 7 miles in a little over a month. It's not good. This thing especially doesn't like sitting like that. It's got like a 6 or 7 year old interstate battery in it, and it needs to be fired up and moved, and the brakes are shit. Everything is rotted. It just sits here and rots away. But I think this thing's been running for a minute now. Temperature gauge isn't showing any progress, but we'll go for a light drive around the block and see what happens. Let me just pause this real quick. I don't know if you noticed, but it's actually running decently smooth. It's not super lopey like it usually is. So that's funny. Alright, let's get going out of this dirty ass windshield. Exhaust manifold leaks like crazy. So that's what that tick is. It's been repaired a few times, but it keeps cracking because the engine shakes. And it needs new windshield wiper blades. They don't do fuck all, neither do the sprayers. Seeing is not required. Brakes are also terrible. I'm pretty sure the front brakes have worn completely down and don't do anything anymore, and now it's just the rear brakes that stop the car, you know, because that's safe. I'll replace those eventually, but this car is not driven that much anymore, so I can't be asked. But it still runs and shifts good. That's all I could ask about it, or ask from it. Just want to get the thing fully up to temperature. At least get some temperature in the oil, burn off some of the moisture we've been having. So I might have to do a couple loops around the block. Nobody coming? That road closed down there? I'm pretty sure it is. Let's find out. Yes, it is. Let's go one more trip around the block. Fully up to temperature now. I do a nice little wide open throttle run when we go around here. See what happens. And here we go. Not bad. She still got some pep. Keep in mind this was only 110 horsepower 24 years ago. Not bad. Not bad at all. Just getting warmed up now. Nobody coming. Alright, that's car number 1 taken care of. And reverse. Oh, that's the curb. A little harder to do with one hand. Come on, reverse. There we go. And perfect. Nice and up to temperature. Still got it. Still running good. On to car number 2. Alright. Time for the other non-pile of crap that I actually enjoy, even though it technically has a blown head gasket. Which, by the way, hasn't gotten any worse. My little fix of removing the O-ring from the coolant reservoir so that it doesn't build pressure seems to have worked. All the symptoms have been gone for a few months now, and it's not using coolant. It's not smoking out the exhaust. It was barely blown before, so by doing this, it should last quite a while. There are people going from using gallons of coolant a week to no coolant at all with that little trick. So if you have a 3rd gen Prius, which is notorious for head gasket issues, remove the little rubber O-ring from the coolant reservoir, and it won't build pressure. And I haven't had to top up the coolant in like 2 months. It's been exactly where it was. So let's fire this thing up and see how it starts. See if we get the clag on startup, because it's been moist out and moisture builds up in the air intake. No, a little bit, little tiny bit, but no smoke out the exhaust. Perfectly fine. In fact, we're gonna go take a look at the exhaust. So as you can see, just a tiny bit of steam. That's perfectly normal. Not bad. These lights, however, are not happy. Just gonna make sure it's not smoking. Yeah, nope, just a little bit of steam. It's cold and wet. Been snowing today, so let's move this thing around the block. Pause this real quick. In case anybody was curious about what a 242,000 mile Prius engine bay looks like. By the way, check out those clouds we got going over us right now. But this is it. So this was a fleet vehicle. Well, not a fleet vehicle, but technically a fleet vehicle. We use it for deliveries at our work, so most of the miles were racked up on it before I got it. I got it with 238,000 miles. So I put a little bit on there, but not much. You can see the coolant level is right about where I keep it. Since there's no reservoir O-ring on here anymore, it doesn't build pressure, and you do lose a little bit of coolant to evaporation, but it doesn't, you know, it's not having any issues, not overheating. Temperature holds perfect. You're not supposed to check this with it running, but as you can see, a little hard to see. Hang on. See if I can get you on there. Oil is nice and clean. I just had an oil change done maybe 1,000 miles ago, and they said the oil looked perfect. It wasn't milky or anything. It's not using coolant. Engine sounds healthy, idles nicely. I have the heat on, so it's going to run the engine longer during this warm-up cycle. There it goes, it just shut it off. As you can hear, electric water pump and stuff is still, or the blower motor is still going. So yeah, Prius has done its full warm-up cycle. Let's close the hood here. My hood, one of the latch, yeah, it did. Okay. One of the things, the hinges is broken. It slammed down with some jumper cables attached and broke it. So I gotta maybe fix that. I'm basically planning on using this car until the engine goes bad, and then I'll sell it for parts because it has tons of good parts for 2010. Besides this door, this is the only rust on the car right here, and that's from my work where people would drive it and ding other cars, chip the paint. I might touch that up, but other than that, the whole car is relatively rust free. It's got a couple scratches, no dents really to speak of. It's honestly in great shape, and I ended up paying $875 for this, so I can't complain. And it's got the premium JBL sound system. Engine just fired back up. Hybrid battery's in good shape. Check engine light is on for an evap code that I will probably never fix. Just filled it up not long ago, but I've done so much idling in it, it's already dropped a bar. So but it's got a nice audio system, even shakes the mirror. It can bump. It's nice. Nav. It's got navigation. So yeah, if I ever decide to sell this thing, maybe I'll post it up on my YouTube channel. If anybody's interested, it will need either a new engine or a head gasket eventually. But as you can see, oil change was done. Next is due 8/2/20. So let's see, how many miles have I gone since the oil change? Trip A, trip B. Oh, that's not what I want. I think I reset it. Yeah, I did. But it's got 241,895 miles on it. So it's held up pretty well. Let me pause this and we'll take this around the block. This is becoming a very long-winded video, isn't it? Alright, get some wiper action going. Yes. Surprised I'm not out of wiper fluid yet. Or washer fluid. I've used it so much. I go through washer fluid like crazy in this car. But it's nice and quiet and smooth. We're on battery power right now. Roads around here suck. It's Got new brakes on it all the way around. New front wheel bearings. It needs rear wheel bearings. They're just starting to whine at highway speeds. You can't hear them under like 50 miles an hour. Once you get up to 70, you can hear them rumbling. But I had them checked out at the garage, and they're nowhere near loose. They're just noisy. They're still nice and tight. So I'm not going to fix them until they get loose. But she drives nice. Real nice. This one I'm only going to take once around the block because, you know, it's already done the full warm-up and it's a Prius. It doesn't require as much as that old pile of garbage does. But I give it credit, that old pile of garbage still starts up every day. Really haven't had to do too much to it in terms of maintenance. Oil changes. And it needs a brake job, and that's really all that it's asked of us. I mean, I've done more than that because it's broken down on me a lot more. I've had fuel injectors and the ignition control module and the coil packs, spark plugs, spark plug wires. Whole top end has been rebuilt. Like, it's had a lot done to it, so it should run good. Doesn't run that great though because the cheap Chinese injectors that need to come the hell out of that thing. Putting those in there, I should have just disabled the faulty injector of the OEM one and ran it on 3 cylinders, because now it runs even worse than it did before. Well, I can't say that now, it kind of got better, but I'm not going to change the injectors with OEM ones. Those are $100 a pop, and that car is worth $400 on a good day, selling it to someone, so I'm not going to put $400 worth of injectors in it. Well, yeah, Prius is doing nice, even with its head gasket issues. It's the only car I've ever had that blew a head gasket in such a way that it was still perfectly drivable. When the Cavalier blew its head gasket, it was game over. You got like a block, and then it was time to shut it down. This is probably one of the most boring videos I've made, but I'm not making other content, so I might as well make this decently long, you know? Oh, why'd I do that, actually? I didn't want to... We'll go around one more time. Fuck it. Ah, these roads are freaking terrible. Stuff you have to do to keep your cars moving during the quarantine. It's not fast, but it gets out of its own way. And the nav system yells at you whether it's on or not that you're speeding. So good on Toyota for that. Anybody that's, you know, not starting their car up regularly during this quarantine, if you're not working, get out there and exercise your car. You don't have to go anywhere, but get it around the block or something. You know, get the fluids moving, get it warmed up. Don't just start it up and shut it off. It needs to be driven. So, I'm actually in the backup. Well, I'll leave it here, it's fine. Backup camera. I actually need to fix that. I'm much further away from the curb than I believe I am. I could get closer than that. I'm not a shitty driver. Let's see how that is. Trying to leave space for everybody else to park up here too. But alrighty guys, that's it for this video, and if you liked, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked, you know, do the thumbs down and tell me to go fuck myself in the comments. I hope y'all have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.